Can we begin housekeeping, please?
Thank you for participating in today's meeting. Please do not connect to Zoom or teleconference while in the room, and please silence all devices. Click on the globe at the bottom of your screen to select either English or Spanish. Public comment will be taken after each item. If you are in the auditorium and wish to comment, please use the iPads located in the lobby. For meetings in other locations, please complete a blue speaker card and provide it to a South Coast AQMD employee. Speakers may be limited to a total of 3 minutes or less for all agenda items, and times may be shortened to ensure all speakers can be heard. A countdown timer will be displayed on the screen for each public comment. Word time will be allotted for Spanish translation that is not simultaneous. For questions or issues on public comment, please call the public advisor at 909-396-3247. That's 909-396-3247. Please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Failure to do so can result in your mic being muted or you being removed from the meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating, you are authorizing recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain by South Coast AQMD.
Gracias por participar en la reunión de hoy. Si asiste en persona, favor de no conectarse a la conferencia telefónica o Zoom mientras esté en el auditorio y silencie todos sus dispositivos. Haga clic en el icono de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla para seleccionar inglés o español. Se recibirán comentarios públicos después de cada punto de la agenda. Si está en el auditorio y desea comentar, utilice los iPads ubicados en el vestíbulo. Para reuniones en otros sitios, complete una tarjeta azul para su comentario y entréguela a un empleado de South Coast AQMD. Los comentarios serán limitados a un total de 3 minutos o menos para cada punto de la agenda. El tiempo límite puede ser reducido para asegurar que se puedan escuchar todos los comentarios. Se mostrará un temporizador de cuenta regresiva en la pantalla para cada comentario público. Se asignará más tiempo para traducción al español no simultáneo. Si tiene preguntas o problemas sobre cómo hacer un comentario público, llame al asesor público al 909-396-3247. Eso es 909-396-3247. Respete el tiempo límite y favor de tratar a los demás con cortesía, civilidad y respeto. De lo contrario, es posible que se silencie el micrófono o que sea retirado de la reunión. Tenga en cuenta que esta reunión está siendo grabada. Al participar, usted autoriza la grabación del contenido audiovisual presentado durante el evento en vivo y acepta el uso posterior de la grabación en el dominio público por parte de South Coast AQMD.
Thank you for those comments, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the February 6th, Friday, 2026 meeting of the South Coast Air Quality Management District Governing Board. Faye, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Lock-Dawson, absent. Board Member Delgado, absent. Supervisor Hagman. Present. Supervisor Mitchell.
Present.
Supervisor Nguyen, absent. Vice Mayor Olmos.
Here.
Board Member Padilla Campos, absent. Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Councilmember Rahman, absent. Mayor Rodriguez, absent. Dr. Rutland.
Here.
Vice Chair McCallan.
Here.
Chair Cacchiotti.
Here. Mayor Rodriguez just arrived.
Thank you. And we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to ask our Vice Chair, Mayor Pro Tem from the City of Highland, Larry McCallan, to lead us in the pledge.
Please join me as we salute the flag that represents our republic. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Board members, are there any opening comments today from the board? Supervisor Perez.
Just very quickly, just once again, just want to say thank you to former Chair Vanessa Delgado. I know she's on her way, but I think it's important that we recognize her work once again. I think that she set out some goals that we all try to work on and reaching, and she did what she could. Obviously, with staff we have, they did their best. And the goal setting was very important. Some of that strategic planning was very important. I just want to say thank you for setting the tone, which in my years being here, I don't think I ever saw a chair set a tone for the rest of the year, or at least for the rest of their tenure. And so I appreciate that. And once again, just very proud of the fact that the first Latina to ever be the chairwoman for AQMD, I think meant a lot for folks that are out there in our communities. And just one last thought on the issue of air pollution, specifically with dust. And I'm going to continue to bring this up because the time for these dust storms is coming. It's just around the corner. And we have folks back home right now that are beginning to organize. And I think that the sooner we get out in front, the better. They happen every year. They happen around March, April, mostly April, sometimes in February, but really March, April, even in May. And I think that folks are beginning to wonder what AQMD is going to do. Obviously, I think we've done some work, and I think we need to message that, communicate that on an ongoing basis. But more so as well, people are beginning to see, at least at the policymaking level, that it's not AQMD who is, if you will, the only entity or the lead when it comes to these issues. It's also CARB, and it's also EPA and other jurisdictions that we need to connect with and work with and partner to address this issue. It's much larger than AQMD. And I think people are beginning to see that, but we still need to continue to voice that and demonstrate goodwill on our part. There will be a call to action that's coming. And that's going to be in the form of a letter, something official by policymakers back home and maybe even grassroots organizers. So I'm saying that out loud to people right now, to staff, to folks that are listening, to the dais here, my colleagues who have been very supportive, and staff as well, only because I want to make sure that we do everything we can to get out in front. The sooner we do, the better. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chair, and my colleagues.
Thank you, Supervisor. Vice Mayor Brenda Olmos.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to share that last week, the staff was able to do what we call, I guess, an AQMD 101 for the Western cities. We got some cities together and we're able to present some educational components of what AQMD does for your city and for your residents. And I got some great feedback from our council members out and city managers. And again, I just wanted to thank Wayne and Susan for making that happen and appreciate the support.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mayor Carlos Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to thank you and Mayor McCallum for joining us for the tour of the Frank Bowerman landfill in Irvine. I appreciate the AQMD staff joining us for a very good discussion and a very, I think, informative time. So we're pleased to have you there, and we're hoping the efforts to recycle much more green waste and compost in the future will occur. And they've applied for a unique approach where they're covering these huge rows of compost and rather than aerating them manually. Again, appreciate Supervisor Nguyen helping spearhead that in her leadership, and would encourage it's an open invitation to you all colleagues. If you're able to make it in your busy schedules, we'd appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Mayor, thank you for that tour. Thank you for the time. And I'm going to mention some of that in my comments later today. I see that the great mayor from the city of Riverside has a comment. Mayor Locke Dawson.
Thank you, and apologies for being late. There was an accident on the freeway. Just really quickly, one of the reasons I couldn't go to the landfill was because I had my State of the City on the same day, so apologies, but I want to come see and do the tour if you do it again. But And because of that, I have some good remarks to share with you that were in my State of the City. So real quickly, AQMD program funds were used to provide fourth graders with bikes. We're using AB 2766 funds to expand our Every Kid Deserves a Bike program to a second school this year. So we're going to cover 2 fourth grade classes. It's pretty cool to see it. I think we had a link to a video, but it's fine if staff didn't get that to you. So another thing, Riverside is now in the top 11 cities nationally for the most installed solar capacity per capita. We've also, just this last year, eliminated our reliance on coal. So we now have 0 coal in Riverside's energy portfolio. And we've launched the world's only clean air car share program with 12 hydrogen fuel cell vehicles at 7 stations citywide. And lastly, by 2027, 70% of Riverside's energy is going to come from renewable sources. So all good stuff to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Board members, any more comments before we move? See none. Wayne, do you have any comments today?
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to have a couple of announcements with regards to our next board meeting. We'll be presenting the annual Clean Fuels Report. And as part of that report, we hope to provide a mini technology showcase. And it's going to be focusing on some of the clean technologies that you'll be able to, again, go out, touch, feel, see, and get a firsthand perspective of some of the technology that we're utilizing and trying to promote. I also just wanted to announce that today begins the opening application for the Governing Board Student Intern Program. This program, in terms of the solicitation for applicants, will go through March 13th. We'll then go through the applicant pool, sort them into the areas for each of you. Each of you then will have an opportunity to select 2 student interns. The chair and the vice chair get 3. We're going to have 2 cohorts for the internship program. One will start on May 26th and the other on June 23rd. And that was done to accommodate both the UC and Cal State systems. And then the program will conclude on Friday, August 7th. And I'm sure that we will have a breakfast so that you have a chance to hear directly from those interns and meet with them as well. And that concludes my comments, Chair.
Thank you, Wayne. Carlos, please.
I walked in a few moments into the meeting and just wanted to take a moment to welcome our new colleague, Dr. Rutland. It's nice to have another friend and colleague from Orange County. So welcome. And look forward.
Welcome aboard, Dr. Rutland. We're going to swear him in a little while, so we have another opportunity. Okay. So right now on the agenda, we want to honor our outgoing chair. Manny made some great comments about you on your way in. I know you got caught in traffic, but I think we're going to do it up front, Wayne. Okay, Larry, would you like to join me?
Very good. Very good.
You want us to go down there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I should probably go away, right?
Madam Chair, from all the board members, and we really honored you last month. It was an incredible, Manny made some incredible comments about you, your leadership, your style, your demeanor, the tone you set that I hope to follow today, your gentleness, your kindness, your compassion, the way you treated everybody, staff, fellow board members, and especially our public. We're honored that you're here and you're staying. We have a special resolution. I'll just read just a few words from it. Whereas the South Coast AQMD is responsible for protecting public health, improving air quality for more than 17 million residents in the air basin, where Senator Delgado served with distinction as the first Latina chair of the South Coast AQMD, providing thoughtful, steady leadership during a period of significant political, economic, public health challenges. Whereas during her tenure, Chair Delgado guided the governing board through adoption, implementation of significant air quality rules, policies to advance public health, ensure compliance with federal and state air quality standards while balancing environmental and economic concerns. Whereas in July 22nd, 24, Senator Delgado accepted on behalf of the AQMD a historic $500 million, $500 million climate pollution reduction grant to incentivize zero emission locomotives and trucks. Congratulations, Senator Delgado. Larry, Vice Chair.
And to go along with that, we've got this beautiful vase, or however you pronounce it, that you can put roses or flowers or whatever you want in it. And our challenge is to provide you a bunch of roses every month to
I love
fill it up, huh?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I had the pleasure of, serving with these gentlemen for a while now, and I cannot wait to see what your leadership brings. So I'm here to support you. And I got to say my words last month. So I appreciate these tokens, and I will treasure them. Thank you.
Madam Chair, one last thing. As a tradition, I started with former Chair Ben Bono, you remember?
Yeah.
I have the owners in a family that's a history since 1917. Owners of San Antonio Winery live in my district in the city. The Rivolis, my friends, I've coached their kids. And this is Stella Rosa, some of their favorite wine from Italy. Congratulations, enjoy this.
Thank
After
you.
the meeting.
We'll open it during.
Manny wants some right now,
Yeah.
but.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Pass it around.
All three? All this kid? And now we're swearing in the Vice Chair and Chair. Sorry. Yeah. Go with Larry over here. Over here.
I'll share your microphone.
Okay.
All right, this is exciting. So please raise your right hand and repeat it after me.
I,
I,
Larry McKellen,
Michael Cacchiotti,
During such times as I hold the above office,
during such times as I hold the above office,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely,
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
Thank you, Vanessa. Now we'll move to swear in Supervisor Perez and Board Member Dr. Jamie Rutland. Please come forward.
Manny, do you want the?
Oh, yeah, why not, right?
I'm still
Because you haven't memorized it by now. We really should, all the years. Congratulations.
Okay, time out. Where's Guillermo?
You need to put it-
Let's take photos.
I'll have Bill, can you take photos? Bill, yeah, Jose, I brought a couple for you, Manny.
All right.
Good, get his good side, okay? It's my honor today, Supervisor Dr. Rutland, to swear you both in. I had a great opportunity and pleasure, privilege to meet Dr. Rutland a few weeks ago with staff. We're honored by your presence today. I'm very excited. So thank you. Supervisor, it's been a pleasure and honor working with you for these years. I'm excited we're continuing. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Victor Manuel Perez,
I, Cedric James Franklin Rutland,
During such times as I hold the above office,
during such time as I hold the above office,
during such times as I hold the above office,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, board members. Give me a big hand. Okay.
One more time. Now you can sit down. Now you can sit down.
Congratulations.
We have, okay, 7 public comments. And,
A few comments I'll make first. Wayne and board, I have a few comments I'll make, and then we'll go along with the agenda for the meeting. But as a board chair, I'll just make a few brief comments, maybe not brief, but some comments. First, I'd like to thank my fellow board members who have entrusted me with this very important obligation and job as chair of this visionary agency. You know, this is a special year for AQMD, and so is next year. Over a half century ago, in the early 70s, I'd like to put a few slides up for you. This was a regulatory environment that existed in California in the early 70s. You've got the US EPA, created in the 70s by President Richard Nixon, and the California Air Resources Board legislature signed into law by Governor Ronald Reagan. And then it's got our formation. You see a picture there we'll talk about in a moment. So in California, the legislature passed 2 bills to create a regional air pollution agency. But former Governor Reagan, who'd actually signed the car bill, vetoed the AQMD bills both times. Finally, former Governor Jerry Brown, making good on the campaign promise, signed AB 250 in July 1976, 50 years ago, carried by a Republican Assembly member, Jerry Lewis from out in your area, Larry, Redlands, creating the first, now called the South Coast AQMD District. The law and the AQMD became effective later on January 1st, 1977. So we're celebrating 50 years now and next year. Next photo, please. And this is that famous assembly member on the left, then became a congressman, Jerry Lewis. He's got a petition with 200,000 signatures, and that's, I think, the former Lieutenant Governor, right, Ed Renke, saying, hey, Our Inland Empire is tired of this pollution from Orange and Los Angeles counties. Let's do something about it. So that's how we came to be. Next photo. So this is our mission statement. I want to tell all of you, I come before you today to work with you, uphold and continue the legacy of this agency as a respected national and global leader in protecting public health. And this is our mission that we all come here, so it makes me passionate about it, to clean our air, protect the health of all residents in the South Coast District through practical and innovative strategies for all 17 million residents. Next. And this is really the most important reason why we're here today. Rules, technology, everything, is we're protecting the health and well-being of all our families, friends, and children. I want to tell you, we must all work together to continue our legacy, what Chairman Bill Burke did with the environmental justice communities, Chairman Ben Benoit did, passing the first warehouse rule in the nation, and my predecessor, Chair Delgado, after years of zero or little progress, securing an unprecedented cooperative agreement with the two largest marine port complexes in the nation. Specifically, I want to continue Chair Delgado's and his board's and our staff's initiative to reduce the backlog, as Manny mentioned, continue some of these great ideas, the permit enhancement program. We must continue to support our staff, our overworked staff many times, incredible agency staff or consultants that help us. Next slide. These are the 900, nearly 1,000 employees at the AQMD, from our executive office, officers, legal, administrative, and human resource. And I'm saying it because there's dozens, if not hundreds of people behind each of these blocks. Community engagement and air programs, compliance and enforcement, engineering, permitting, finance, and information management, LPM, legislation, public affairs and media, monitoring and analysis, planning, rule development and implementation, technology advancement. All these important people and others working behind the scenes to protect us and support our mission. But I also intend to supplement a few of these areas, our incredible technology advancement staff and monitoring analysis with Aaron and Jason Lowe. We have the most advanced stationary mobile monitoring equipment and platforms in the nation. We serve not only our district, but San Diego, Eaton, Palisade fires. However, thanks to last week's tour with Mayor Rodriguez and Supervisor Nguyen and Vice Chair McCallum and Susan, who were there, and observing their staff pilot a drone technology to perform air monitoring over a 500-acre facility. I've already discussed with Wayne and Susan about adding these additional incredible technologies to our collection of advanced air monitoring equipment will not only save us money, help provide quicker response, and protect our staff as they respond to dangerous air polluting events. The second area I want to supplement is our LPAM, Legislative Public Affairs and Media, led by an incredible team and Lisa Tanaka, Carlos. You perform incredible outreach to groups, government agencies, businesses, etc. I'd like to add a little more emphasis on our outreach to the faith community leaders and public health professionals in our region. If we can show the next slide. And this is a slide of Auxiliary Bishop on the right, Brian Nunez, a few weeks ago, meeting with our staff, and right there with Jason, go back, right there with Jason Lowe and others in our monitoring and analysis, going through our laboratory. We're currently coordinating a meeting with our facilities with Bishop John Taylor of the Episcopal Diocese of LA. Next slide. But I still want to continue. This is one of our international faith community leaders, the Pope, quoting the urgency of doing our efforts to address climate change and air pollution. So I want to continue our outreach efforts to all faith communities and leaders. Support our board members as you reach out to the faith community leaders in your district or who you know. And I also want to support and enhance the great job our entire media office is doing with Nahal, with the talents of our newest board member who you've met, Dr. Jamie Rutland, and his social media expertise in the area of public health arena. And finally, as part of our enhanced outreach efforts, and in celebration of our 50th anniversary next year, our staff has begun working with outside consultants to produce state-of-the-art videos highlighting our past 50-year history, our current and future efforts to reduce harmful air pollution. So in closing, as our journey for a clean air future continues, let's all of us be reminded every day of our noble agency mission and and our privilege to serve and protect the 17 million men, women, children, and seniors, our fellow Californians who live, work, and play in our South Coast Basin. Let us all perform our work, whether it's great or small, with a compassionate heart. Thank you, board members. Thank you, everyone. Let's continue with public comment.
Mr. Chair, we have about 6 or 7 public commenters
In-house, Larry?
in-house.
I'll let you do the in-house. Go ahead.
Thank you. First, we have Palash Mukherjee. Please come forward, followed by Ashley Jackson.
Welcome, Palash, and these are public testimony items not on the agenda. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. It is good to see a nearly full board today. My name is Palash Mukherjee, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Coalition for Clean Air. I would like to congratulate Dr. Jamie Rutland on his swearing in as a new board member, as well as Chair Cacchiotti and Vice Chair McCullen for the new membership roles, and Board Member Perez on his reappointment. Dr. Rutland, welcome. In the South Coast Air Basin, the most polluted air basin in the country, air quality decisions are fundamentally public health decisions. They shape respiratory and cardiovascular outcomes, healthcare costs, and quality of life for millions of residents. Your background as a pulmonary health specialist strengthens the board's ability to ground policy in real-world health impacts and evaluate long-term health outcomes. For over 50 years, the Coalition for Clean Air has protected public health through strong policies, polluter accountability, and community advocacy. That remains essential today. As the board looks ahead, we urge continued focus on protecting public health while achieving the emission reductions required under the state implementation plan. We are hopeful that this year will bring stronger progress towards meeting SIP obligations, which are essential to preventing avoidable illnesses and improving community health. Accountability is central to this effort. The South Coast Air Basin includes some of the state's largest polluters, and meaningful air quality improvements will require firm, consistent actions to reduce emissions from these sources. 6 of the 19 community air protection program communities statewide fall within the South Coast AQMD's jurisdiction, with many others repeatedly being nominated. This highlights the disproportionate pollution burden and its associated health costs faced by frontline communities and communities of color in the South Coast Air District. The Coalition for Clean Air looks forward to working with the board and Dr. Rutland to advance policies that protect public health, promote equity, and deliver cleaner air for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Palash, for your comments. Next, we have Ashley Jackson, followed by Adrian Martinez.
Good morning, y'all. It's nice to meet you, Dr. Rutland. And I just wanted to say that my name is Ashley Jackson. I'm the Inland Empire Regional Organizer with California Environmental Voters. And I'm also here representing the SoCal Clean Manufacturing Coalition. I wanted to thank former Chair Delgado for her work on the board. And I also wanted to congratulate Chair Cacchiotti and Vice Chair McCallum on their new leadership roles. And congratulate Board Member Perez on his reappointment. I also wanted to say that your commitment to protecting public health matters deeply to our communities that we're organizing across the Inland Empire and the broader South Coast. I also want to welcome Dr. Rutland to the board. As the Inland Empire Regional Organizer, I'm encouraged to see someone that has firsthand experience with treating respiratory illness joining this body. Too many families in our region know what polluted air looks like, not through data points, but through emergency room visits and chronic health conditions. This board has a real opportunity to deliver meaningful NOx reductions in 2026 by advancing zero emission standards for rules 1146 and 1146.1. And we appreciate the staff's work and look forward to these rules coming before the board later this year. At a time where air pollution continues to contribute to serious illness and premature loss of life, your leadership is critically needed. Thank you, and the SoCal Clean Manufacturing Coalition and EnviroVoters looks forward to working with you this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, for your comments. Good morning, Adrian.
Good morning. My name is Adrian Martinez, and I'm here from Earth Justice. I'm the director of our Right to Zero program. Great to see everyone. I just wanted to come today to congratulate Supervisor Perez on his reappointment. I really appreciate your work to get more resources to Riverside, San Bernardino County, and make sure we're cleaning the air there. I want to welcome Dr. Rutland to the board. We're very excited to have you and have a full board, which is a really great thing. I want to highlight a couple things. I really appreciate the agency's work on zero emissions. There was in the certificate for Board Member Delgado, it mentioned the truck and locomotive grant that's focused on zero emissions. You've got some zero emissions items on the board today. I think it's really important to push that and continue to address that. And then finally, I just want to note, I was in Pasadena at the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit yesterday in a case where your legal team did an excellent job defending one of your regulations. It was a really terrific job presenting the case. I have clients that are also in the case, and I think it was an excellent argument and really showed the credibility of your staff and your legal team. And finally, look forward to this year. As we get to the 50th anniversary, there's still a lot of regulations that need to be done. Some were referenced, 1146, 1146.1, which tackle large boilers and other equipment. We're excited to work on that. We're excited to work on continuing to implement the WARE program, mitigation fees, and we look forward to even more progress on zero emissions this year. And here's to a great 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, for your comments. Next, we have Gary Stewart, followed by Thomas Yelenovich.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gary Stewart. I'm an internal medicine physician, practiced in Tustin since the 1980s. As part of that, I was on staff at St. Joseph Hospital in Orange, where I served 2 years as chief of medicine. I've been a climate activist since 2018. I'm here to congratulate and thank Dr. Rutland for being a physician willing to bring his expertise into the public space. I represent Climate Health Now this morning, an organization founded to encourage and assist physicians and other medical experts to do as Dr. Rutland has done, to come out of the clinic, the hospital, the laboratory, and bring the rational voice of medical science, as it is so crucial today in crafting policy that serves the interests of our citizens in the broadest sense, as this relates to the global heating that is already affecting all of us. We hope and expect Dr. Rutland to be a particularly sympathetic ear to our organization's concerns, as we say that there is no civic health without climate health. Air quality is measured, or as measured and impacted by this organization, is a major public health issue, impacting our patients in a very real, personal, and even life-threatening way. I sincerely hope that we at Climate Health Now and other climate change advocacy groups can count on Dr. Rutland as a knowledgeable, rational voice on this board, helping to inform other members of the board about the calling that the ancient tradition of medicine represents. And in part to this organization, his lifelong dedication to the general health and welfare of our citizens. Congratulations, Dr. Rutland.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Thomas. Good morning, Thomas, followed by Jennifer.
Good morning. My name is Thomas Yelenovich with the Pacific Merchant Shipping Association, representing the marine terminal operators and vessel operators serving the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. First, I'd like to congratulate Chair Cacciati, Vice Chair McCallum for their new leadership roles on the board. Look forward to working with both of you in your new capacity. And Board Member Delgado, thank you for leaving them in such a great place on the work you did over the past couple of years. Greatly appreciate that. Board Member Perez, congratulations on your reappointment to this board. Look forward to working with all of you this year. I'd like to also welcome Dr. Rutland. We hope to develop a strong relationship with you. We would love to invite you to the ports of Los Angeles, Long Beach, see how the marine terminals work, how cargo is moved, all the steps that we are taking to move toward a zero emissions port there. A lot of the work that this agency will be doing over the course of this year will be focused on implementing the cooperative agreement that was secured last year. And we hope you will be part of those efforts as we shape the policy going forward. With regard to the efforts to bring forward the CAP Plus measures under the cooperative agreement, I'm sure you heard the meeting was unfortunately canceled on 2 weeks ago. Or last week, excuse me, last week. But it has already been rescheduled for February 19th. So I'm thrilled with the speed that it was rescheduled. The one thing I would ask this board is, I think there was a commitment on everyone's part, from stakeholders to AQMD to the ports, to bring forward a proposal to this board on the CAP Plus measures by June. I hope this 3-week delay does not push that deadline. I think it is incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we hit that deadline, that self-imposed deadline, to bring measures under the CAP Plus measures forward so that we show our commitment to a zero emissions port in the future. So thank you for your time this morning and look forward to working with you over the coming year.
Thank you, Thomas, for your comments. Next, Jennifer, followed by Joaquin Castellanos.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer de Tejada. I'm with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice and a member of the SoCal Clean Manufacturing Coalition. I also want to congratulate and welcome board member Dr. Rutland. Your background in respiratory health and patient advocacy brings an invaluable public health and health equity perspective to this board, and especially as air pollution continues to impact families across the South Coast. Once again, congratulations to you. The SoCal Clean Manufacturing Coalition looks forward to working with the board and staff to advocate and advance clean air, protect public health, and move forward towards zero emission solutions for our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, we have Joaquin Castellanos, and he is the last public speaker here, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Good morning, staff and community and board. My name is Joaquin Castellanos. I am with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice and who's a member of the South Coast Clean Manufacturing Coalition, here today to also congratulate Chair Cacciati and Vice Chair McAllen on your appointments here and your willingness to lead us into a clean air future. And also Dr. Rutland, congratulations on joining this board. I think we're all really excited to see your work here and bring your expertise and your your experience, everything you've done in the health field, and it's really important to have these voices. And in general, I think we got the dream team over here, ready to clean up the air, and we're over here ready to help you all, and bring our community here to give their opinions and to push forward for clean air. I hope we continue to fight for NOx reductions in our region. I just want to give a quick tidbit. We're doing workshops right now on air quality, and one thing that we were talking about, because the IE has the #1 ozone pollution, is how ozone is formed, and there was a lot of confusion about that. But what the community was surprised to find out is that ozone is formed when NOx has chemical reactions with ultralight rays, and forms ozone. And a lot of people were, they were surprised. Oh, that's why we have, #1 ozone pollution in the entire country. And lowering NOx pollution would reduce that ozone pollution. And I hope that we look at that and see how we could reduce ozone pollution and reduce NOx pollution, and in general, clean up the air and make sure that our communities are healthy and safe and breathe in the cleanest air possible that they could clean, and no children has to face any type of respiratory disease, reduced lung growth, or anything like that. But thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all here every first Friday of the month, hopefully, and for the rest of the year. Thank you. Have a good day, good weekend.
Thank you, and that's the end of the public comment here.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We'll go to public comment online, and I'll be cutting off the public comment right now. So we'll start with Thurl. Thurl, welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for this time and the new board members and the continuing board members for their dedication to helping with the process of getting the air clean here in Southern California. We are here in West Long Beach. I'm a member of the West Long Beach Association. This is a community that's disproportionately affected by the effects of pollution in the South Coast Air Quality District. We have the port, its work activity produces enough pollution to account for more than 3 deaths per day in this community. With that, I would like for you, as you read the oaths of office, you agree to abide by the constitutions of California and the United States. One of the premier places in both of those constitutions is equal protection under the law. Here in West Long Beach, all we want is the same air quality that we have in the state of California. Equal, not less than. Technology is available. We are facing AQMD is putting together a rule to regulate methyl bromide. We would like methyl bromide eliminated from the atmosphere. The technology is out there. This is not that they can't use it, but it should not be allowed to escape into the atmosphere after it's used. We think this is reasonable and appropriate in the direction we should be going to eliminate it. It is required in some instances by the state constitution that it should be eliminated in the coastal zone, in the coastal act itself, where hazards and people live next to communities or higher employment areas. You can have extraordinary rules. And we are looking forward to work with you this year to achieve that goal. And I want to thank you.
Thank you, Thurl. Always great to hear your voice. Next is, it just says a 310 area code, and it says guest. Go ahead, please.
Hello, am I being heard?
Harvey, good morning. Yes, you're being heard. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Congratulations, Corsiati. I've got a few things I want to bring up. I'll try to hit on. First of all, notice in the agenda for the meeting was just put up yesterday. The law requires 72 hours. Everything's illegal. Now, the hot weather that we've been having and the cold weather back east, that's climate. Okay, I'm incorporating by reference an article from the 23rd of December from The Guardian by a guy named Millman, and it's about the vortex up in the atmosphere spinning around and affecting the jet stream. That's what happened 4 or 5 years ago. It was 121 degrees in British Columbia, 116 down here, all right? The same thing that happened to cold in Texas 4 years ago. It's a jet stream because it's 4 times the heating increase in the Arctic, and that's what's happening. That's for real, all right? This is all being trashed and stuff by the administration. They pulled us out of climate twice, and there's an issue coming up that it was tried to kill by the Saudis about whether to phase out fossil fuels or not. They said they needed a place at the table. We said you need a place 6 feet under the table. There's a meeting by the UN with Colombia, the Netherlands, and 20 countries on the just transition versus the phase out, April 28th and 29th of this year in Colombia. We're asking for support for that. Also, we were asked to put in a proposal for trees by Dr. Burke. And they had a group working on it, so we want to go to that meeting, the trillion trees. This week was Tu B'Shvat, the tree planting day for the Hebrews. It's gone on hundreds and thousands of years. Arbor Day's coming up on the 12th of next month, okay? This was $500,000 left from a proposal that wasn't funded. We want at least to get that $500,000 and to bring this up about the trillion trees and whatnot there and the solar, the equitable solar transitioning. Okay. So also that we got cut off. You're head of a religious interfaith group. Okay. I'm trying to get a hold of that. This is also Yom HaShoah. It was last week. I had half my family murdered by Hitler. All right. And there was misinformation going on. Some rabbis said that because people would get called Nazis in Minnesota. That
Thank you for your
Amtrak had
comments,
nothing to
Mr.
do.
Eder, but that's beyond the scope of this agency's jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. Next speaker is Heaven Denham. Go ahead, Heather, or Heaven.
Hi, I just wanted to congratulate Dr. Rutland's appointment to the board. I'm a UCR graduate student, so it is incredibly important to me to have a health-focused member on the board when our region struggles with one of the highest risks for respiratory diseases in the nation due to our air quality. It's important to me being a UCR student, actively engaged in our community. We have a huge struggle with high industrial pollution, and that corresponds to high health risks. So we hope your time at AQMD, Dr. Rutland, will be focused on reducing these harmful air pollutants for the health of all of us. And thank you all.
Thank you, Heaven, for your comments. Next is Hope Furukawa. Hope, go ahead, please.
Good morning. My name is Hope Furukawa. I am a medical student in the Inland Empire. I just want to take this moment to congratulate Dr. Rutland on his new appointment and welcome him as a fellow health professional at an agency with direct impact on public health. Dr. Rutland's appointment is a timely addition to the board of directors at a time when SCAQMD is considering landmark clean air rules through industrial decarbonization. And as a medical student, it makes me incredibly proud to see a physician and fellow health professional take a seat at an agency that has so much impact on public health. I also wanted to speak to how continued use of large gas boilers puts the public health of students and surrounding communities at a significant risk of asthma, cardiovascular disease, and lung cancer. Our communities in San Bernardino County are in some of the highest percentiles for pollution burden in the state of California, with our pollution burden percentile at 95% and our particulate matter at 2.5 to 64 ratio. I also want to talk about how burning gas releases hazardous pollutants that particularly affect individuals in low-income communities and communities of color, which are already overburdened by pollution and further contributing to the environmental injustices that these communities face. Many of these facilities are located in close proximity to schools, where children's growing lungs are more vulnerable to toxins and can develop lifelong health issues. And I just wanted to take this moment to, again, congratulate Dr. Rutland. And we hope Dr. Rutland's time here will be focused on reducing these harmful air pollutions that students and San Bernardino County residents suffer from every day. Congratulations, Dr. Rutland. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hope, and good luck in medical school. Next is Casey Gowan. Casey, go ahead, please.
Sorry, just figuring out the mic. Yes, my name is Casey, and I am also a medical student in San Bernardino County. Also, just wanting to thank all of you for what you do. It's, you know, every day we see the downstream health effects of our air quality, and as you all, I'm sure, are aware, it is a lot better for everyone involved when we can catch these ahead of time. And so I thank you for putting in the work, and just wanted to say, again, congratulations to Dr. Rutland. We're really excited to have a health professional on the AQMD board. And just also wanted to ask you to particularly prioritize, as Hope had mentioned, regulation of boilers, and especially as we look towards industrial rules 1146, just hoping that public health will be prioritized so that we can best care for our neighbors and our patients. Thank you very much.
Casey, thank you. And I'd like to invite you and all your medical student friends up to our district for a visitor tour sometime. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Fernando Marquez Duarte. Fernando, go ahead, please.
Okay.
Fernando, we can barely hear you. Maybe turn your mic up or something else.
Can you hear me better now?
Much better.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Good morning, board members. First of all, congratulations, Chair Caccioli, for becoming a chair. And congratulations to the new board member, Dr.
Fernando,
Rutland.
sorry, if you can just speak a little louder, it's
Yeah.
very difficult to hear you here. You're
Yeah,
doing great, but speak a little louder, thanks.
And congratulations again, Chair Caccioti and board member Redland. Just wanted to emphasize the importance of keep working for cleaner and safer communities in the South Coast Air Basin. And also, it's important to work to ensure a strong cap measures for the ports cooperative agreement. There is most of community members and EJ groups participated in this process. We felt a lacking real incorporation of public feedback, and the fact that the public meeting that was scheduled was canceled with very few days of notice and without a specific reason. It's concerning. I think there needs to be a more robust public process. There were several workshops where community members and EJ groups made several recommendations and proposals on how to do that, and we haven't really seen this incorporated. And so we really hope that in this 2026, in this first quarter, AQMD staff and board members incorporate the feedback that we have given several times to make these cap measures definition processes really led by the communities. So the communities are the ones who see the benefits in their environment, in their health, and which is it's the ultimate goal of the South Coast AQMD. And just wanted to say that, and thank you again for your time, and congratulations again to the new board member and to the new chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. And it looks like we have one more, Erica Ramirez-Miro. Erica, go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, and welcome.
Great. Good morning. My name is Erica Ramirez Mayoral. I serve as the Executive Director of Getting Residents Engaged in Empowering Neighborhoods in the Madison Park Neighborhood Association. We're also known as Green MPNA. We're a resident-led organization in Santana that is environmentally burdened with heavy industrial use. We have been operating since the 1980s. We are also the only neighborhood with a community air monitoring network that supports clean air policy within the city and Orange County at large. We are here to support and also part of the SoCal Clean Manufacturing Coalition. I appreciate the history lesson of California's environmental protections that was given earlier. I truly believe that California's robust environmental protections have always been led and rooted by the communities who are the ones present here today providing public comment. I would like to congratulate Chair Caccioti and Vice Chair McClellan on their new leadership roles, and also Board Member Perez on his reappointment. Your commitment to addressing the ongoing air quality challenges in this region in Southern California is incredibly important to our communities, despite the very, interconnected challenges that we're all facing. To our new chair and vice chair, I really look forward to seeing how your leadership might change the Air District's mission to protect the health and the well-being of our residents across Southern California. I also want to congratulate and welcome the board member, Dr. Rutland. We are really excited about your appointment to this board, as you can hear throughout all of the different public comments. We are really hoping that your work, your experience in respiratory health can actually really be an invaluable perspective to this board. Your leadership does bring an important health equity lens, and we are really hoping to see how you might work with this board to implement a more health public lens into the work we're trying to do. This board has an opportunity to achieve much needed NOx reductions in 2026. This is something that, as a community air monitoring network, we're trying to monitor as well. So we're really hoping that we can see some reductions happen within this year. By passing the zero emissions standards in rules 1 1146 and 1146.1, this is what we're really hoping for and trying to advocate for. We're grateful for your staff's work on all of these rules, and we really look forward to being a part of this conversation and being brought to this board later this year. Congratulations again to everybody on the board. We really look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Erica, thank you, and thank you for your efforts. That concludes public comment for online and in-house. And before we go to the consent calendar, the board calendar, I'd like to ask our newest member, Dr. Jamie Rutland, for a few comments if you'd like.
Good morning, everybody. Please call me Jamie. I just have a couple things to say. As a triple board certified physician in pulmonary, internal medicine, and critical care, I just want you all to know that I approach air quality through the lens of human biology, not just emissions data. Air pollutants do not simply irritate the lungs. They injure airway epithelial cells, activate innate immune signaling, and drive systemic inflammation that accelerates asthma, COPD, fibrotic lung disease, and increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes. I bring a clinician scientist perspective to AQMD that connects particulate matter and ozone, exposure to immune dysregulation, exacerbations, hospitalizations, cardiovascular events, and premature death. Equally important, I believe policies must consider whether the communities most affected by poor air quality can readily access appropriate specialty care and whether evidence-based management is realistically covered, not just theoretically recommended. In this role, I also hope to serve as an educator, helping translate complex biology into practical understanding for policymakers, stakeholders, and the public, while advancing air quality policies that meaningfully improve health outcomes, or at the very least, do not further worsen exposure or deepen unequal burden. Thank you.
Thank you, board member. Okay, now we'll move to the board and consent calendar. Those online or in here in the audience, if you want to speak, please raise your hand or you've turned in a note. I see we have items 3 and 6 have been pulled. Item 3 is the annual meeting of the Health Effects and Air Pollution Foundation. And item 6 is the issue, the program announcement, AB 617 Clean Community School Initiatives, that's school buses, et cetera. So again, if you want to comment any of these items, raise your hand. We'll see which ones you want to pull. Again, in-house, we have 3 and 6, and people are raising their hands right now. Board members, do you want to pull any items, or do you have any declarations or disclosures? Supervisor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, to Dr. Rutland, which I will continue to refer to you as, because you worked hard for that. Welcome and thank you very much. I look forward to service with you and welcome you to a governing body that will hear from competing interests consistently. So welcome, and I look forward to your leadership. Yes, Mr. Chair, I don't wish to pull item 7, but I do wish to make a comment with regard to item 7. And I ask that the settlement funds from World Logistics Center be spent to benefit the communities affected by this development. I also ask that we work with the community and with environmental justice organizations that have won their own settlement funds against this development to leverage the best possible air pollution results for the surrounding community members. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Got Councilmember Rahman.
Thank you so much. And I also just wanted to echo Dr. Rutland, our welcome to you on this board, and your focus on human biology means that you also have a focus on people and the impacted people. That I think is incredibly important to center all of our work and our decision making. And I'm really grateful for you bringing that perspective more deeply into the work of the board. So welcome, and I really look forward to learning from you. I don't believe we're voting on item 4, right? As part of the consent calendar, Chair.
What item 4 what?
We
That's
are voting.
correct, board member.
Okay,
Yes.
yes. So for agenda item 4, I wanted to just say that I don't have a financial interest, but I am a council member for the city of Los Angeles, which is involved in this item. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Sure.
Manny? Oh, let me go, Vice Mayor, almost first.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And Dr. Rutland, I'm happy to have you next to me. I said they put the healthcare individuals in the corner, it seems like, so we'll be working together. I'm excited to have you near me. Again, I just have to, actually, for agenda item number 2, I'm recusing myself from the agenda because of a financial interest in Raytheon, which is materially affected by this item.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We'll go to Mayor Locke Dawson and then Supervisor Perez once.
Thank you. And I too want to welcome you, Dr. Rutland. Nice to have you on the end, the good end of the dais. I'll just throw it out there. For agenda item number 5, I do not have a financial interest, but I am required to identify for the record that I am a board member for the California Air Resources Board, which is involved in this item.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And obviously, welcome to our newest member. Appreciate your words. And I think that it's critical that we do have an individual like yourself here for different reasons. Obviously, you heard about the competing interests and the balance that we need to strike is very difficult at times. So I guess what I'm getting at is a couple of things here is that the balance between ensuring that ultimately folks are taken care of when it comes to their public health and respiratory issues in their communities, but at the same time, how do we ensure that we alleviate poverty and look at costs associated when we are making a rule, and how does one actually afford it? And how do we create opportunities in which potentially we can think about sustainability and ensure ultimately that people can find better jobs in which hopefully will get them to the American dream of owning a home, sending their kids off to college, but at the same time, ensuring that they're able to take care of their families when they have access to health care. I think that that's always a task and a very difficult one to try to figure out here, but that is our role. And I also want to state, I definitely agree with my colleague and Supervisor Mitchell, in which we go way back to the legislature regarding those being impacted with item number 4. And I do wonder, when we talk about those being impacted, what that formula does look like ultimately at the end of the day. Because obviously in that immediate area, you have people being impacted. But as those trucks are leaving that area and they're going down the 10 freeway, for example, and they're driving down through the Coachella Valley, how much of an impact is that having there with issues of respiratory illnesses and things of that nature as they're constantly moving through the entire Coachella Valley, and it's definitely going to have it's definitely going to grow, the amount of trucks, the amount of emissions, and people are going to be somehow impacted. So how do we create a formula that makes sense for the immediate as well as even folks that perhaps don't live a mile or 2 miles or 3 miles away from the center? What does that mean? What does that look like? And once again, I state that because I look at legislation from the past. For example, when we worked on the, can't remember right now, AB 1318, I think is what it was, a natural gas peaker plant, and how we broke those funds down into thirds. I think it was a total of $53 million. And mind you, if I can go back in time, we would have requested it for years to come and not just a one-time deal. But a third of that was the immediate area. another third of that funding was the surrounding area, which maybe was about 10 to 20 miles outside of that immediate area. And then another third had to deal with environmental justice communities that were not in the immediate area, but they were down the road, like, for example, Thermal, Mecca, Coachella, Oasis, where we know that the environment is being impacted in so many different ways. And so, that took us a while to figure that one out, but we got there. So I just want to make sure I just state that as to when we talk about folks, what do we mean by who's being impacted and how much, and how do we bring about equity using those funds? So I appreciate the points made and just wanted to make those thoughts clear.
Supervisor Mitchell?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that I spoke to item number 7. And, to be clear, I specifically said to be spent to benefit the communities affected by the development. So I don't think my point was not as narrow as you suggested, Supervisor, in terms of immediately adjacent, but certainly communities impacted by the development, affected by the development should be prioritized. And that, from my perspective, does have an equity-based lens. So I'm asking the staff to take a look at that and come back to us and let us know, as you said, what the process should be. Thank you.
Figuring that out. I appreciate that.
Okay, we've got people who've pulled item 3 and 6 in-house. Let's hear from item 3. Jared Kane. Jared, welcome.
Hi, my name is Jared Kay. I'm from Santa Ana, a resident, and I would like you to reconsider closing the HEAP Foundation. All right, I have this written out. Good morning, board. I know the material today is dry. It's like reading the back of a shampoo bottle for 3 hours. I tried explaining the consent calendar to a 3rd grader this morning. He asked if that's where the board gives everyone permission to eat cookies. I said, no, it's more like when we decide to throw away a favorite toy while we're still playing with it because we think we have enough Legos already. That toy is the Health Effects for Air Pollution Foundation, and I'm here to tell you we're not done playing with it. In 1947, the predecessor to this agency was formed because people were suffering from gas attacks. It took scientists to prove the chemistry of smog and its physical effect on human tissue. The HEAP Foundation continued this tradition by looking at the next frontier, brain tumors and neurological bypass. Without the foundation, we risk becoming a smoke and fumes commission. The foundation is what turns the dry data into public health standards. If we dissolve HEAP, we are essentially saying we decided to stop asking how the local air hurts us. We were told this is redundant because of the EPA exists, but the EPA measures the general fire. HEAP looks at whose house is burning. National studies show that when you combine PM 2.5 with formaldehyde, the brain damage is significantly worse than either one alone. That synergy is our unfinished business. There is the HEAP study on the formaldehyde plumes, or I'm sorry, where is the HEAP study on the formaldehyde plumes in the 92703 zip code? Where is the data on the sandpaper fog that our kids breathe in Santa Ana? We haven't even begun to map the damage in our own backyard. When we dissolve the foundation that studies the biological impact of chemicals on the brain, we're cutting the nervous system out of our own agency. We can't allow ourselves to become a department that measures the weather while ignoring the disease. Imagine this building as a great giant castle. The engineering department Are the walls, the legal departments, the legal department, are the gate?
Thank you, Jared. Next, we have an item 6, Adrian Martinez, and then followed by Joaquin Castellanos.
Good morning, Adrian Martinez with Earth Justice. I'm here testifying on behalf of the Los Angeles County Electric Truck and Bus Coalition. We're a coalition of environmental justice, and labor groups who are working to increase truck and bus electrification in Los Angeles County. We're just here to support this investment of $30 million in zero-emission school buses. We can think of a few better uses of this type of money. And importantly, it's going to benefit AB 617 communities. So it's really important that this agency continue investing in zero emissions, and we like to see our school buses moving from combustion to zero emissions. And we thank the board, hopefully in advance, for voting for this and approving these funds.
Thank you, Adrian. Joaquin Castellanos.
Good morning once again. Joaquin Castellanos, CCAJ, here in support of these investments to our AB 617 communities and the importance of transitioning these buses and protecting students. Thank you.
Thank you, Joaquin. Go online testimony now, and after Marvin Norman speaks, we'll cut off public comment for online on the items on our consent calendar. And please, as you testify, please identify which numbered item you're testifying about. So Marvin Norman, go ahead. Welcome.
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. And Marvin Norman is CCAJ and San Bernardino resident. Just also look to support item 6, the ZEV buses for AB 617 communities. We have there the 617 community in San Bernardino Muscoy, where I know Colton got some, I think, and I think their district covers part of this community. But San Bernardino hasn't got any yet, and I don't think Rialto has yet either. So looking forward to hopefully seeing them get rolled out soon, so my kids don't have to sit on the diesel bus to go to school. Thanks.
Thank you, Marvin. And again, as you testify, please identify which item you're testifying about. Our next speaker, and now public comment has been cut off, is Rita Loof. Rita, go ahead, please. Welcome.
Good morning, Rita Loof, Director of Environmental Affairs for RATIC International, commenting on item number 2. We submitted written comments to staff on the proposed amendments to Rule 1124. UV-EB LED technology plays a role in the aerospace coatings market, and removing regulatory barriers to reformulation will help the industry comply with rule requirements. The stated goal of the rule amendments is to transition away from products containing PCBTF or TBAC. UV-EB LED formulations do not contain these materials, and we are agnostic as to the district's efforts to phase out those chemicals. One of the potential compliance options presented by staff is reformulation to products that are toxic-free without requiring an air pollution control system. According to staff, thermal oxidizers generate corrosive byproducts such as hydrochloric acid and hydrofluoric acid. Because of their low levels of VOCs, thermal oxidizers are not required for UV-EB LED processes, so that problem goes away entirely. There have been many advances in UV-EB LED technology for aerospace operations. As an example, shark skin coatings are engineered to mimic the microscopic texture of real shark skin, which helps reduce drag and thus reduces fuel usage. Originally developed by the military to improve aerodynamic and antimicrobial properties, these coatings are now being adapted for commercial applications in industries such as commercial aviation. Our materials are typically well below 50 grams per liter, which is minimal compared to the current limits, some as high as 1,000 grams per liter. An exemption would be an incentive for businesses to voluntarily choose materials that are well below the rule limits, resulting in additional emission reductions. We ask for a simple change to the current definition for reactive diluents so that it includes energy curable materials. And section F5, multiple test method, lacks a method for thin films. We ask for an inclusion of that. So in summary, our requests are to exempt super compliant products, and in the alternative, include a definition for UV, EV, LED, and a test method for thin films. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Next speaker is Fernando Marquez Duarte again. Fernando, go ahead, please.
Hello. Just wanted to make echo of what some of my colleagues have said. Just expressing my support to the board program on zero emission school buses in AB 617 design communities. This is very important and necessary to support and keep improving and increasing for the children of the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. And I think our final speaker is it Wayne? Is it the last one? Okay. Thurl, go ahead, Thurl, and welcome back again.
Yes, thank you. Here in West Long Beach, in the 617 community, and we support item number 6 for the school buses. And we would like to see more increase things like this to help with the problem. This is a small step, but yet and still, it is a needed step. I'd like to remind the board that to zero emissions is the key, and we must maintain that for 80 to 100 years to eliminate the pollution that's already in the sky that's killing us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thurl. And that concludes public comment on items on our consent and general calendar. And I see Supervisor Mitchell. Did you want to speak again? Okay. Thank you. Board members, any comments before we go for a vote on any of the items we just on our consent calendar, 1 through 19?
I'll move the consent calendar.
Vice Chair has moved the consent calendar. I think Supervisor Hagman seconded that. Bate is, Vice Mayor have to step out or anything?
No, that item wasn't pulled.
Okay.
So she can stay, but I would just recommend having just 2 separate votes.
Okay, and 1 through 19, except for number 2?
2, and then a separate vote for number 2.
Okay.
Thank you.
Larry, is that okay?
So modified.
Supervisor Hagman, is that okay? Yes, so we're voting on items 1 through 19, except for number 2. Let's, everybody vote. Cast your vote, it's in front of you. You have to push yes or no, and then you got to lock in your vote. Go ahead, that's, Faye, is that 12 ayes and 1 absent? Okay, it passes. Now let's move to item number 2 for a vote. Moved by Supervisor Hagman. Second? Second by Supervisor Perez. Cast your vote. Item number 2.
Yeah. I think so.
Eleven yeses, 1 abstention, 1 absent. Okay. God bless you. Let's, okay, we'll move on to the regular, let's see right here. Item number 21, background on state implementation plan requirements. Dr. Sarah Reese. Dr. Reese, go ahead, please.
Good morning, everybody. Chair Cacchiotti, members of the board. My name is Sarah Reese. I'm the Deputy Executive Officer for Planning here at the district. And today I'm going to give an overview on state implementation plan requirements. This could be a pretty arcane and bureaucratic, but really important thing that we do here at the district. And the reason I'm giving the background today on this, to give a little overview and information, because I'm going to be coming back to the board with some pretty sticky issues regarding SIPs over this year. And so this is hopefully going to be a good education, opportunity to ask some questions and get a little information and background on this topic. Next slide, please. Okay, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody up on the dais that we have some pretty hard air quality challenges in our region. We've made tremendous progress, but historically we've had some of the worst air quality in the country, and we are by far the worst for ozone today in the country. We have some of the worst levels of fine particulate matter as well. This gives us substantial challenges in terms of what we need to do to be able to clean the air. We need, just in short, a lot of emission reductions, and it's very, very hard to do that. Next slide, please. I'll give you a framework, starting with the Clean Air Act. This is a federal law. This requires the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to establish national ambient air quality standards. These are health-based standards that the agency established. They're prohibited by law from considering costs when they establish those standards. It's really about setting air quality standards at a level that's adequate, provides an adequate margin of safety. So protects kind of average people as well as sensitive subpopulations like children and the elderly. EPA is required to review these standards every 5 years. They usually don't meet that 5-year time, but they do review these standards from time to time. And when they review a standard, if they make a change, the old standard doesn't necessarily go away. So that's why you can have multiple standards for each pollutant. And here they are setting these standards for criteria pollutants. So there's 6 criteria pollutants that they're considering when they do that. While there are 6 criteria pollutants, the pollutants that we're most worried about in our region are ozone and fine particulate matter. Those are the ones that we really struggle with in terms of meeting those standards. Next slide, please. Because these are health-based standards, there's tremendous public health benefits that can be realized if we're able to meet them. And so as part of our 2022 Air Quality Management Plan, we went ahead and we estimated what those benefits would be if we were able to meet federal air quality standards. And overwhelmingly, the benefit is on avoiding premature death. We estimate that about 1,500 premature deaths avoided every year if we were able to meet those standards. When you monetize all of those health benefits, it translates to about $19 billion every year in health benefits. So again, tremendous benefits that could be realized from being able to meet these standards. Next slide, please. And when we talk about state implementation plans, we really are focusing on those criteria air pollutants. Now, there are other kinds of air pollutants out there. So greenhouse gases, for example, and those tend to have impacts on a more global level. Toxic air contaminants like metals or organics, those tend to have impacts really, really localized, like to a community that's adjacent to a facility, for example. Criteria pollutants have more regional impacts, and that's really what the focus of these SIPs are, is figuring out what we need to do regionally to lower air pollution levels throughout our region. Next slide, please. I mentioned there are 6 criteria pollutants. Here they are. So carbon monoxide, lead, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide. These are ozone and particulate matter. These are established in the Clean Air Act, so federal law requires EPA to do all of this. For 4 of these, we monitored levels are below the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. That's good news. We are focusing on ozone and PM. Those are the ones that we really struggle with in our basin, and so you'll be hearing a lot about that. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk more, drill down a little bit more on ozone standards. I mentioned you can have multiple national ambient air quality standards for particular pollutants, and indeed for ozone, we do have multiple of these. Beyond having the different types of standards, when EPA determines whether you meet a standard or not, there's different flavors of whether you meet that standard or ozone classifications, and they range from marginal to extreme. And the EPA sets that for a particular region depending on how far away you are from the standard, how much above that standard you are. Where we don't meet ozone standards, we're classified as extreme. It's because our ozone levels are so high. We're basically one of 2 extreme non-attainment areas in the country. So that gives you an idea of just how bad ozone is for us. So we have the 4 standards here for ozone that I mentioned. You know, for the South Coast Air Basin doesn't meet any of them. So for the 1979 1-hour ozone standard, we were supposed to have met that by 2022. We didn't do it in South Coast. We did meet it in the Coachella Valley. For the 1997 standard, that attainment date was in 2023. So that was the date we were supposed to meet it. Didn't meet it in South Coast. We met it in Coachella. It's still kind of borderline out there. In the 2008 ozone standard, that deadline for meeting it is coming up in 2031, and we are classified as extreme in South Coast as well as in Coachella Valley for that. And then for the 2015 ozone standard, the most recent one, that deadline is coming up in 2037. Again, we're classified as extreme for both South Coast and the Coachella Valley. Next slide, please. So looking at our attainment status on fine particulate matter, there are multiple standards on particulate matter. I'm just talking about the two associated with PM 2.5 that we aren't meeting right now. So the 2012 annual standard, that has an attainment date of 2025. You might notice we're in 2026 right now. We did ask EPA for a 5-year extension on that attainment date, which we're allowed to do under the Clean Air Act. So putting that out to 2030. EPA has not acted on that request yet. But meanwhile, right now, as of today, we don't meet that standard. And then the most recent PM standard was established in 2024. EPA hasn't gone ahead and made their designations on that standard yet, although our monitored levels are well above what that level is. The current administration has indicated their interest in rolling back or doing something different with that standard. EPA's deadline to designate under that standard is actually this month. We still haven't heard specifically what this current administration plans to do, but that's an important footnote there. Unlike ozone, there's 2 non-attainment classifications for PM, moderate and serious. Our region is in serious non-attainment for that 2012 standard. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of oxides of nitrogen, or NOx, because you'll hear me use that or say that a lot. And the reason it's so important is that NOx is the key pollutant we need to control in order to be able to reduce both ozone and PM in our region. Ozone is formed in the atmosphere. It's a photochemical reaction between volatile organics and oxides of nitrogen in the presence of sunlight. And so in our atmosphere, our chemistry is such that NOx really drives that reaction. For fine particulate matter, that is both directly emitted by different sources, mostly combustion sources, as well as formed in the atmosphere. It's a very complicated chemical reaction between 4 different building blocks, and most of our PM in our region is actually formed in the atmosphere. But again, for this, NOx is that key driver for that type of chemical reaction. So that's the good news, to the extent we have in any of this, is that one strategy, reducing NOx emissions, is going to get us into attainment eventually for both ozone and for fine particulate matter. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is a state implementation plan? In short, this is the roadmap or blueprint showing how we're going to be able to meet state and federal standards. That sounds fairly simplistic. These are really, really complicated documents. A ton of technical modeling goes in that, evaluating emission inventories, developing control strategies. It's a lot of public process. These are really years in the making. These are requirements that are mandated under federal law. There are some pretty harsh consequences that happen if we don't meet our obligations under federal law to either develop these plans, implement these plans once they're approved, or if EPA decides to disapprove these plans. And I'll get into that consequence a little later. Next slide, please. It's also important to realize that, the emissions in our region aren't entirely under our control. And yet, under state implementation plans, we're obligated to consider all emissions, regardless of whether we have direct regulatory control over them. So this bar chart here shows the amount of NOx that we estimated in 2018 in our basin. And the different colors in the bar chart represent the different agencies that have direct regulatory control. And you might note that for South Coast, the sliver of what we have for direct regulatory control in orange is relatively small compared to the rest of that bar chart. It's because most of the NOx in our region, over 80%, is from mobile sources. And as a local air quality agency, we have limited regulatory authority over mobile sources. That belongs to the state. Increasingly, it belongs to the federal government, particularly given current rollbacks on California's authority to regulate mobile sources. When we develop SIPs, though, we do have to account for all of these emissions. So we work collaboratively with CARB on the mobile source strategy for that. And then our focus on what we do internally then is on the stationary sources. Next slide, please. And then in terms of the role of the federal government, EPA is the ultimate arbiter in terms of approving or disapproving our state implementation plans. We work cooperatively with folks in Region 9 so that hopefully we're all on board when we submit a plan, but it's ultimately up to that agency. One interesting piece here is that EPA has long taken the position that a local agency or a state agency can't assign emission reductions to the federal government. So even though the federal government controls and has direct regulatory authority over a whole chunk of emissions in our region that need to be reduced, EPA has taken the position that, we can't just say, hey, EPA, go address some of these sources, go, take some steps to reduce emissions from ocean-going vessels, for example, which are a very significant source of emissions in our region. So that presents a bit of a problem for us because we really can't reduce the emissions enough from those sources that are within our direct regulatory control. We could, in theory, shut down every single stationary source in this region and not attain. And so that presents a really big problem. And then I mentioned that California has some role and some authority to regulate mobile sources. It's a special provision that's established for California in the Clean Air Act. But they can only do that if EPA provides a waiver or authorization for them to regulate in that way. And EPA is able to grant or deny those waivers. And I'll talk later about the status of that because that's being substantially rolled back. Next slide, please. I mentioned that there's a public process associated with the SIP development process, and there's a lot of technical work and strategy that goes on here. So, a lot of different inputs from the public. We have advisory groups, working groups, public workshops. We take comments on our strategies and also on the modeling and the technical work that we do and respond to those comments. Regional public hearings, and then a final public hearing with our board. So that's why this is really a complicated process. It does take years and years. A lot of work goes into developing these documents. Next slide, please. And then I'm often asked about emission forecasts. And when you work through these planning exercises, well, you might know what the emissions are today, but how do you know what it's going to look like in, say, 2037, when the date comes by which you have to meet the most recent ozone standard? And the way we do that is we work with other different entities to figure out and forecast what those emissions are going to look like. So we start off with what we call our base year emissions. Those are emissions that are reported to us from stationary sources. We calculate what those emissions look like from mobile sources and area sources. And then we work with other entities to figure out what growth looks like over that period of time. So we work with the Southern California Association of Governments and other stakeholders to look at what the change in vehicle miles traveled would look like, or what some economic indicator changes would be, what population growth we might be expecting. And that all then gets factored in. And then we also look at the controls that we have in place. We estimate what those emission reductions are going to look like. And then we can model out then what future emissions would look like. Next slide, please. State implementation plans have a lot of different building blocks to them. I'm not going to go through all of these in detail, but suffice it to say, very, very complicated pieces here. So developing an emission inventory is years in the making. Developing control strategies, which are the measures we need to reduce emissions and how much emissions need to be reduced. That's a whole thing. An attainment demonstration, which is a very technical modeling exercise showing that if you reduce so many emissions, it's showing how you're going to be able to meet that standard and translating that to concentrations of pollutants in the atmosphere. Contingency measures. Contingency measures are a controversial topic. They're required under the Clean Air Act. These are measures that we're supposed to hold in our back pocket in the event we don't meet the standards. The problem with the contingency measure is that in an area like us, we don't have anything left to hold back. right? Like we're taking all feasible measures. We have an obligation to take all feasible measures. I'm literally looking for molecules of NOx under the couch cushions sometimes. So that becomes a bit of a problem for us when we have that requirement in place. And then transportation conformity is also an important element. Effectively, we have to show that transportation plans aren't going to interfere with attaining the standards. And that becomes a problem sometimes when there's a mismatch on that, where it could actually freeze transportation funds that are in our region. Next slide, please. Okay, I had mentioned before there's some pretty harsh consequences associated with SIPs if you don't do the things you need to do. One of those consequences happens when you fail to attain the standard by the date that you're required to do that. One of the things that happens then is those contingency measures that I talk about. That's when we have to deploy those. And then also if we fail to attain, in general, you have to go back and you have to revise your plan. You have to figure out like why the plan didn't work. And then when you do revise that plan, often you have even more stringent requirements that adhere. So for example, for PM, when you fail to attain the next plan that you do, part of that on top of the attainment demonstration and everything else is you have to show you're going to reduce emissions 5% every year above and beyond. That's pretty stringent. The other thing that's triggered when you fail to attain are non-attainment fees. And these are fees for major stationary sources, and it's non-discretionary. We have to assess them here. If we don't assess them, EPA comes in and takes them. So those are another facet of a consequence under failure to attain. Next slide, please. Other consequences are happening on planning requirements. So if you don't submit a plan that you're required to do, if EPA disapproves in whole or in part of your plan, or if there's a plan element that you said you were going to do that EPA approved and you wind up not doing it, that can trigger these sanctions. And it starts between 18 and 24 months after the triggering action, but it can be pretty harsh. So things like increased offsets for permitting, which in English means that it's very hard to permit new and modified sources. Loss of federal highway funding, which in our region is tens of billions of dollars, so very, very significant. And then ultimately implementation of a federal implementation plan. That's the federal government taking over air quality planning. The last time the federal government sought to do that in the South Coast region, they had some fairly draconian measures in place. They were looking at things like no drive days. They were looking at things like capping cargo at our ports and capping airline traffic in our region. So that can be really, really harsh. It's no place we want to go. And so we work very, very hard to try to make sure we're never in that place. Next slide, please. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about some of the details of our ozone SIP requirements for the different standards. For the 1997 ozone standard, we failed to attain that in the South Coast region. We do attain it in the Coachella Valley. The deadline to attain that was in 2023. EPA has not yet issued a finding of failure to attain. And so we're waiting to see when that will happen. But once that finding of failure to attain is issued, that's when we're going to start collecting those non-attainment fees on the stationary sources. That's also then when a contingency measure that we have in place, which is for our check before you burn residential burning program, there'll be more stringent thresholds on that, which will basically mean no burn days in our region. For the 2008 ozone standard, we had a plan that we developed as part of our 2016 air quality management plan that showed that we were going to be able to attain in our region by 2031. We did use this thing called a black box. It's a tool that areas that are in extreme ozone non-attainment are able to use, basically because you have so much time to meet the standard and you know the technology is going to be developing that you don't really know about right now. So you can say, okay, we think in 10 years there's going to be electric cars or electric trucks everywhere, and you can kind of point to that. But under the Clean Air Act, 3 years before the attainment date, you have to true that black box up. You have to actually come clean and say, where are those emission reductions actually coming from? And so we have that plan due coming up at the end of 2027 for that 2008 standard. So that's one of the coming attractions you'll be hearing from us. And then for the 2015 ozone standard, that was part of our 2022 air quality management plan. We were able to demonstrate that we would attain that standard by 2037. We are looking at SIP revisions. We did rely a lot on California mobile source rules, as well as some federal rules that were in place that are now being attacked and rolled back. And so that leaves a hole in that state implementation plan. Next slide, please. Okay, looking at the status for our PM National Ambient Air Quality Standards, there's a 1987 standard for PM10. I know that sounds like a long time, but it is still on the books and still something we need to meet. We attained that standard in the South Coast in 2013. We have not attained it in the Coachella Valley. It's an area that's very, very dusty. It has historically had a PM10 issue, and that's something that we need to work on. The 1997 24-hour and annual standards for PM 2.5, we've attained those. We met those in 2013, so some good news there. But the 2006 PM standard, we attained that in 2023. We're still looking at what measurements look like for 2025. They don't look great, I'll say that. So that's still kind of borderline. And then for the 2012 PM standard, that was a plan that we developed in 2024. It showed that we were going to be able to attain by 2030. Again, we had asked EPA for that 5-year extension from 2025 to 2030, and they haven't acted on that yet. So that's kind of hanging out there. And then revisions of that plan are going to be necessary, again, because we relied on emission reductions from CARB's mobile source regulations as well as federal regulations that we're no longer going to be able to realize because of the rollbacks. Next slide, please. Okay, just to give you an idea of how far away we are from attainment, these columns show how much NOx we have in our region in 2018, which was the base year, and then in 2025. And you can see the amount of NOx is coming down pretty substantially, which is great. The problem is that the lines, the kind of brown solid line and then the dashed red line, those are the levels we need to get down to in order to meet the standards. So for PM, we have to get down to 175 tons per day in 2030. Well, if we're able to get the extension to 2030 with some adjustments, we think that we will be able to actually attain by that date. More challenging is this dashed line at the bottom, that 60 ton per day threshold we need to get to. That's what we need to do for ozone. That's very, very challenging. We have time to do it. The deadline isn't until 2037, but it's a very, very steep challenge for us to make. Next slide, please. Okay, I've mentioned some of the issues on mobile source regulations from CARB, also the federal government, and how the sands are shifting on that. California is allowed to have their own mobile source regulations, and they can be different from the federal government, but they are required to get permission or a waiver from EPA in order to do so. California had a number of these waivers. A bunch of those were basically overturned with using a Congressional Review Act. There's a lot of controversy as to whether that was an appropriate tool to do that, but that is what happened this past year. And then California did withdraw a bunch of waiver requests they had on some rules because they were concerned about what this current administration would do, and so wanted to take those back. And then there's been a very recent SIP decision on the heavy-duty inspection and maintenance program for trucks, where EPA partially disapproved of that. So pulling back all of these regulations really hamstrings us in terms of the biggest source of emissions in our area, rolling back those requirements that are in place, requirements that we really can't do anything about and that we were relying on in multiple state implementation plans. Next slide, please. Okay, to give you an idea of upcoming work that we're doing, I will be coming back to you later this year on what we need to do for that 2012 PM standard. We will be talking to you about the contingency measure plan. That's the truing up of the black box for the 2008 standard that we have to give to EPA by the end of 2027. And then we are going to be working on the PM10 standard in Coachella Valley. We need to figure out what's going on there. We already have a bunch of work ongoing, and we'll be continuing to do that. Next slide, please. I've said a lot, but the take-home message here would be that there's a lot of obligations that we have under the Clean Air Act, and that there's a lot of consequences that fall out of that if we don't meet those requirements. We need still substantial emission reductions beyond what we've already been able to achieve in our region in order to meet the standards. Current federal actions that are slowing or impeding progress on mobile source emission reductions are really hurting us and making our job a lot harder to do. And then again, there are some of these harsh consequences that can befall us if we don't meet all of these requirements. Next slide, please. So in terms of next steps, we're going to continue the work that we're doing. You'll be hearing more from us in committee and at board meetings on work that's coming up. We are going to be coming back to Mobile Source Committee in March with more of a detailed summary of what we have ongoing. And then we're going to continue to work both internally and in collaboration with CARB and other agencies on these SIP actions. With that, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Reese. I see Supervisor Mitchell. Any questions? Yes.
Pushing my counter. And the IT guys want me to talk about this. I think back. I do have a question on this. How about the IT guys remember? I do have a question. Slide 18. Thank you for that. I think it may have answered my question, but with regard to the 1997 failure to attain finding, I know that we can't begin to pass the fees and do all that good stuff until it's finalized. Do we have a sense of the timing of when that would happen? Is that all on? Yeah, we don't have a
That's
clue.
up for EPA. We don't know, but I will say that on those fees, even though we're not collecting them right now, they go back to the date by which we didn't attain. So no matter what time that EPA does to issue that finding of failure to attain, the totality of those fees would still be collected anyway.
That I get. I'm just trying to figure out if we have a sense of the timing, because, just to read, failure to attain in 1997 and we're still not there. It's just, all these years later, it's just really,
But the
it's mind-boggling to
attainment
me.
date for that was in 2023. So, or the end of 2023. The attainment date technically was June of 2024. So it's not been so long.
Got it. Second question, with regard to the black box. And so I just wanted to clarify, I think your slide does say it, that we do have an obligation in the 2027 SIP to clarify what we have done with regard to the black box issues.
Yeah, you can't, your extreme areas are allowed to rely on black box, but at some point you've got to true it up. And that time is 3 years before the date by which you need to meet the standard.
Thank you. And I've now been removed from the queue, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, IT
Appreciate it.
gods. Mayor Locke Dawson.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. It's a fantastic overview of everything we're in charge of here and not in charge of. So I'm trying to, I think this is related to black box, and it might sound like a simplistic question, but I'm trying to wrap my brain around this. We include things out of our regulatory control and our predictive modeling for out years to say how much we're going to get, right? That's what I understand.
Well, when if it's completely outside our regulatory authority and CARBs, that's typically what we put in the black box.
Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And then when you true up, so we're trying to estimate attainment for these things that are out of our control. When you true up, what's the kind of modeling exercise you go through, or how do you do that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we have to look at, how much emissions are in that black box, of which there are lots, I'll say. And then we have to figure out, well, what kind of strategies would you be able to deploy to get those emissions? You have to make them up somewhere. We had to do this the last time around back in 2020, and that was for the 1997 ozone standard. And the way we did that is we actually did the thing that EPA says we're not supposed to do. We did assign emissions to the federal government, because those emissions that are subject to direct federal regulatory authority, they're huge. So ships, for example, are soon going to be the top source of NOx in our region. We can't write a regulation for ships, but the federal government could. And so we did actually go ahead and do that exercise of assignment. We're going to be working with CARB to figure out what we need to do this time around, but it's going to be very, very challenging.
So you said you
Kara?
have strategies going for, I'm sorry, Wayne, were you going to say something? I'm
I was just
sorry.
going to ask Dr. Reese if she could comment on the work that the modelers actually do, how we develop the models, how those models are then utilized in the work that Sarah's team presents to you in terms of how we expect to reach attainment.
Well, yeah, that's back to the attainment demonstration question, where these models are, again, incredibly complicated, where we translate how much emission reductions we need to concentrations, and so how that we get down to those thresholds. But it's, yeah, as Wayne said, it's a very detailed exercise. I can't even remember how many PhDs we have. We have many PhDs, which is great because I'm a big nerd, so I love hanging out with
I
them.
know, I actually love modeling too. That's why I'm asking about it. But I heard you say that you look at your black box, and to true up, you look at what things you could reduce going forward, but do you assign values of the things that were in there to
Yeah, we
that
do.
brought them there?
We,
Okay.
we assign values to different categories. We try to do the best we can to be as precise as we can, but recognizing it's a very difficult thing to do when you have so much need and it's really beyond your control.
It's a little ridiculous, but yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll go to Councilmember Nithya Raman. Councilmember.
Thank you. And I just had a question about when the EPA itself is, or when the federal government is taking away actions by local regulatory bodies like the rules put forward by CARB, what is the likelihood that they will take action to punish us for non-attainment? And what is that, kind of, how does that factor into the work that we're doing locally?
So it is a factor that we consider. And as I talked about at the last board meeting where Sarah, myself, and Susan met with the acting regional administrator, we asked that question flat out. And the way that I framed it was, at EPA, we got sued every day when I was there. And it's kind of like here at South Coast. We have a great legal department, and that's something that we're ready for. And if it was just going to be a legal battle, I wanted to save a lot of time and a lot of effort in terms of all the modeling and all the things that we go through to try to prove a point. And I used the word spectacular in the meeting because the acting regional administrator said, we don't want to go there. We want to find a solution. And so the team is actually working on developing arguments that would help support that. The question that I ask myself is, what's really going to happen? And we need to be ready either way. And so we're making all of the arguments in terms of why the extension should be grounded for attainment.
Right.
We're also making sure from a legal perspective that we're doing everything we can to be ready. And then finally on the national stage, what we're actually doing is working with other air agencies across the United States and other states and looking at what are some of the changes that are being proposed under the Clean Air Act? What are some of the things that are being doing? EPA is really changing how it does things. In the past, there was a decision made by headquarters, and that was generally applied uniformly throughout the nation. But instead, what we're seeing now is decisions being made in certain regions and the agency not necessarily moving forward in other areas, but pointing to what happened in that particular region. So for instance, something about reporting in Colorado, and they're saying, well, this is going to be the way that we look at it, or something with regards to mining operations in West Virginia, and they're pointing to that. So we're trying to get a more holistic view, and there's a lot of talk about different interpretations of various parts of the Clean Air Act. We're seeing states like Arizona and others that are basically saying, hey, we're not in attainment because of international transport. There are arguments that could be made that that applies to us, but we have never been technically confident, I'll say, in those arguments. So what we're trying to look at is, from a broad perspective, what are some of those innovative discussion tools that could be utilized to approach EPA? And then the other final aspect that I would add is we need to redefine the interaction with EPA
Mhm.
and include a much broader suite of partners when we go before EPA to make a point.
Got it. But you have been very clear that the reasons why we're not meeting our goals is because so much of what would allow us to meet our goals is not under our regulatory control. I mean, it's not that you've been unclear about that.
Dr. Reese is very clear about where those sources are coming from and who has the authority. And so in part, that's where I think we can maybe further explore some of the novel approaches to certain sections of the Clean Air Act and say, but for those emissions, we would be in attainment.
And then I just had one technical clarification. Could you remind us what percentage of the particulate matter emissions are coming from kind of the tires and
brake and tire wear.
Yeah, versus stuff that's happening in the atmosphere.
So we have kind of, it's mostly like directly emitted PM versus the stuff that's formed in the
you
atmosphere.
said you had two charts. I don't remember the slide number, but you had two different charts about sources of ozone versus sources of
or the chemicals that go into the formation of those. So I
Yes, and
believe
you
that that's
said
on
most of it comes from
chart 9 or slide 9. Yeah, most of the PM is formed in the atmosphere. It's about 60 to 70%. Yeah.
60 to 70% of the PM is formed in the atmosphere.
Correct.
And 30 to 40% is formed
More or less
through
roughly.
direct emissions from things like tires and
It's combustion sources. Brake and tire wear is a component of that as well.
and we
Dust.
don't and we have not looked at okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Supervisor Perez?
I think my questions were answered. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that we do not have jurisdiction over mobile sources and yet we're required to achieve these attainment standards, which without the due diligence, partnership, cooperation of these other entities, I don't see how we could get there. Maybe you do, but it just seems very difficult. And I appreciate the fact that when you're talking about redefining, I guess, and transforming, if you will, the culture that we have with EPA and CARB in a way in which they take I'm just wondering, do they even take responsibility? Do they acknowledge the fact that we don't have mobile sources in our portfolio here? I mean, it's like, or do they just say it's on you? I mean, I don't get that. And so the fact that you're trying to think through using strategic language and trying to get them to the table is probably as far as we can get. And then when we get them to the table, hoping that they're willing to get to the table, there's a goodwill approach on their end, a good faith effort to really work with us. Because otherwise, it's going to be continuously difficult. That's for me obviously one main issue, and the other one is the misinformation that's out there that we constantly have to address. But it gets to a point where we need to stop playing defense and start playing offense. And I think that has been going on maybe a bit too long. We tend to wait, and we shouldn't. I think we should say it for what it is and go after what we need and be on the offense and score some touchdowns along the way. No pun intended. I know it's Sunday NFL Super Bowl, but maybe there is a pun intended. But I just really think that we need to just turn that culture, if you will, that mindset, even within ourselves, and be willing to take risks and go there. Because I think they requires that now. It's a sense of urgency. So I guess you'll keep us posted.
Board members, any more comments or questions for staff? Larry, do you want to say one? I've got one after you're finished.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Obviously, we've got a tremendous task before us for the next couple of years, and I am honored that this board decided to elect me into the vice chair position to help accomplish that. I wanted to thank Senator Delgado for her leadership over the past 3 years, and look, I'm glad she's still on the board. I look forward to working with you to achieve these lofty goals that we have, and working with our incredible staff. We have the best staff as far as I'm concerned, and they are overworked and they do a fantastic job. And I look forward over the next couple of years working with you to help solve some of these important issues that we have, and cleaning the air, and at the same time making sure that our economy still is viable in this area. So I just wanted to thank you all and look forward to working with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I just have a question, Sarah, on slide number 21, page 21, slide 21. That was some of the actions the federal government took to withdraw the waivers. The one that really hit me hard was, and I understand these waivers, clean fleets, et cetera, clean cars. The far right column, recent SIP decision, that's what I asked you about, because it says heavy duty inspection and maintenance, clean truck check. So I remember when that was passed several years ago here in the state, the Senator Leyva, I think, carried it, Connie Leyva. And after working for 20 years with the Bureau of Automotive Repair as my client from the Attorney General and prosecuting smog check stations for light duty vehicles, cars, light duty trucks. This was the first time when she passed that legislation that people said, why didn't we ever test trucks? Anything over, was it 14 or 16,000 pounds gross vehicle weight? And this was our first opportunity to finally get those diesel polluting things off the freeways that go by here every day. And now, sir, I just skimmed this. What's happening with this? Because this was a great opportunity, because a lot of these truck drivers, they just don't maintain their vehicles. It's not that it's not electric, we don't care, but at least maintain your dirty diesel trucks. Tell us what's happening.
Right. So on this particular one, EPA did very recently issue a partial disapproval on that, and it was on the basis of a regulation that, again, only trucks the car was able to do for inspection and maintenance on the trucks. I believe the partial disapproval is for the trucks that are out of state.
Out of state, okay.
So out of state trucks that are driven in California.
So in-state trucks that are here, so how do you distinguish it when you're, what's in-state, what's that? Because they're always going across state lines.
It depends on their registration.
Okay, so we can track that, or the state can?
Yes, the state is able to track that.
Okay, that's good news. Okay, thanks. I didn't see no more hands raised. Sarah, that was just for presentation? Yes. So that concludes our meeting today. But wait, I know there's something coming up.
There's I believe 2 folks who have their hands raised for public comment on this item.
Okay, let me see, I don't have any. I can't, oh, here it is. Bay, can you call him, because this is a microscopic. I can't see the.
Yes, the first speaker is Harvey Etter, and the second speaker is Todd Campbell.
Okay, great. Harvey, go ahead, please. You've got 3 minutes. Harvey, you're on mute.
Hi, this is about NOx and the source of pollution in PM. That 80–90% of the deaths comes from PM. It goes PM 2.5 goes right. A lot of people don't know. It goes right through your lung walls, into your circulatory systems, to your organs, and kills and causes cancer. And the doctor mentioned cardiovascular. He said you can get strokes and heart attacks. What he didn't say is that heart failure, which kills, we had 1 million people a year, all right? Over 55 and 250,000 under. those are the big numbers that we've used 1 million to 2 million deaths when they only say 700,000 in the state each year. These are the cost benefits that are not being included. The IMF did a study and said $7 trillion to spend each year by subsidies fossil fuel. So that's the real, and their complaint about increasing solar prices and stuff, and the margin keeps out poor people is garbage. And it was also a few years ago. It was the editor of The Economist Wolf addressed this, and he was using about a $5 trillion a year figure. So enough is enough. And you guys did not evaluate the solar new deal that we brought to you, and it's illegal, and all of this stuff is a cover-up in your captured agency. And there's a Nobel that went out in '80 to a guy that was at Columbia and Chicago School. Anyway, later, you're purging the people.
Thank you, Harvey. Next and final is Todd Campbell Bay.
That's correct.
Todd, go ahead and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and I want to congratulate you as well as the Vice Chair. Also thank Board Member Delgado for her tremendous leadership of the board, and glad you're going to continue to serve, and also Supervisor Perez, and welcome Dr. Rutland. My name is Todd Campbell. I represent Clean Energy. We are the nation's largest renewable natural gas transportation fuel provider. And I share your concerns, particularly on slide 21, where the federal government has essentially withdrawn critical measures that would reduce emissions from heavy-duty trucks. But I also agree with Supervisor Perez that we need to take the offense. And we do have tools, as shown under item number 19, the WARE third report on performance. You will note that the majority of emissions reduced from trucks were achieved from near zero emission technologies. And unfortunately, near zero has been removed as a component of the WARE rule because of the adoption of the omnibus rule in 2022, which changed the standards, but has since been eliminated by the federal government. So we're in the situation where fleets can go out and buy 200 milligram NOx engines that we know are not the cleanest. And yet we also know that we have near zero emission technology that meets the omnibus regulations at 50 milligrams. That's 1/4 the emissions that someone could go out today and purchase. In addition to that, the 9-liter natural gas engine now meets the 2027 standards at 35 milligrams. That was just certified last week. So we do have clean technology. We do have clean combustion options on the table. And I think it's going to be incredibly important for us as we move forward to look at rules like the WARE rule, as well as the cooperative agreement with the Port of LA and Los Angeles and Long Beach, to make sure that we're taking advantage of these cleaner technologies that are options for fleets as mitigation measures. That will enable us to not just achieve, that will enable us to achieve more NOx emissions that will be critical for us, as heavy-duty trucks are the #1 source of pollution in our basin and impacting our communities on a daily basis. I'd like to meet with board members more to discuss this, but I want to thank you for your time. Again, congratulations to all of you.
Todd, thank you for your comments. Wayne, does staff want to comment on that at all, about the distinctions he made about the trucks and the WARE rules?
There's a lot of issues that Todd's raising, and frankly, we need to have a discussion with CARB. And so we actually do have a meeting scheduled. I think it's later this month with CARB senior staff, where we're going to be discussing a number of these issues. So I'll have more to report back after that.
Thanks, Wayne. Bay, did you want to take us to closed session?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. It is necessary for the board to recess to closed session pursuant to Government Code Sections 54956.9A.
Sounded like Mexican.
and 54956.9D1 to confer with its counsel regarding pending litigation which has been initiated formally and to which the South Coast AQMD is a party. The actions are Renai America Corp. Et al. v. South Coast Air Quality Management District, United States Court of Appeals, Ninth Circuit Case Number 25-5129, appealing U.S. District Court, Central District of California, Case Number 2-24-CV-10482, Jason Konoposis and Tara Norris v. South Coast Air Quality Management District et al., Los Angeles Superior Court Case Number 25-STCV-12152, U.S. District Court for the Central District of California, Case Number 225-CV-05683, Center for Biological Diversity v. South Coast Air Quality Management District, Governing Board of the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and DOEs 1 through 10, inclusive. Defendants, Harbor Commission of the Port of Los Angeles, Harbor Commission of the Port of Long Beach, DOEs 11 through 20, inclusive. Real parties and interests, Los Angeles Superior Court, number 25STCP04685, Challenge to Ports Cooperative Agreement, conference with legal counsel initiating litigation. It is also necessary for the board to recess to close session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A and 54956.9D4 to consider initiation of litigation. It is also necessary to recess to close session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 to confer with labor negotiators, agency designated representative, A. John Olvera, Deputy Executive Officer, Administrative and Human Resources, Employee Organization Teamsters Local 911 and South Coast AQMD, Professional Employees Association, and unrepresented employees, Executive Council, Executive Officer, General Counsel, designated deputies, and management and confidential employees. It is also necessary to recess to close session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1 to confer regarding performance evaluations as specified, Executive Officer and General Counsel.
Testing, 1, 2, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
No reportable actions were taken today in closed session. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.